now, even before they started getting these mega indie stars, that is the case, that it is the third brand, and now Evolve is kind of becoming that that developmental, if you will, for NXT, which there's such an irony behind that, but I can't help it that it's that funny. But yeah, WWE and NXT approve already of those matches that are taking place and the relationships in which that are involved there. Obviously, ICW and WWE have a relationship as well. It's kind of like the developmental now for the NXT UK brand, and I can't help but laugh because it's the irony of it that NXT was supposedly the developmental brand, and now it is its own third brand, that they have their own developmental territories before they get onto the main stage of NXT. It's still really funny to say, but it's true. It's 100% true. And then it goes on to say, they quote Meltzer like everybody else does. Quote, the thing that is that Triple H has a long-term goal. It'll be Vince, but in a modern way, and the modern way is, Vince's way was putting everybody out of business, and then Triple H's modern way is putting everyone out of business, perhaps. I don't think so, because the way that I see it is, and people have said it all the time on the socials, too, is, okay, maybe you might be seeing a juggernaut on your hands with the NXT UK brand, and obviously the regular NXT brand, and you might see other NXT territories in the works. And it's, I don't think it's going to be killing the business. It's not going to kill the business. If anything, alright, WWE is definitely building a juggernaut with its NXT developmental territories, but at the same time, despite these juggernauts being built, you you're giving other talents a chance, like a Darby Allin or like a Austin Theory or like anybody else really. And I'm only referencing WWN names here for a second, or Evolve names, I should say. Excuse me. But you're giving other talents a chance to really get out there and grab the brass rings themselves. Okay, WWE's gobbling up all these names from the indies, whether it be in the United States or the United Kingdom, and wherever else it may be coming up. But at the same time, you can't be mad. You cannot be mad, because, it's giving people a chance. It's giving others to grab the brass ring. And the way that the WWE, or at the wrestling scene is now, especially with All Elite Wrestling, furthermore, that they're filing even more trademarks for different event titles and everything else of the sort. So that's not going to be the issue. I don't think it'll be killing the business. I don't think it will. You have NWA doing pop-up events. There's other ways and resources for these talents to be getting the exposure that they need. There's chances for new stars to be created. That's just it. And that's what's another good thing about the independent scene too is, all right, you might, like, let's say for example the NXT for the United Kingdom scene, you might lose Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, Wolfgang, Tyler Bate. You might lose a bunch of other people, but there's other chances for guys, to be like, okay, well, they're gone. That's a bummer, but here I am. And these other companies who are looking for their stars are willing to give these wrestlers a chance to develop their characters, to show them what they got, because it's the independents. And then something might catch on, and somebody will be the next big star in the United Kingdom independent scene, or the United States, whatever the case may be. And now you have, more talents that WWE are going to be looking after, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And, you're also, but then with another bigger company like All Elite Wrestling, okay, more bigger talent's going to be gobbled up too. But that's fine. It's giving other talents out there a chance to really show themselves. You could see a Matt McIntosh. I mean, he's still a good name, a big name out in the independents. Do something about, do something more. The Amazing Graysons, a tag team, you could see them doing more. Let's see. I'll reference friends here. Darius Carter. I'll reference Logan Black. I'll reference who else I can think of? Steve Scott. You could reference a bunch of different people in which are now going to be given the chance to do that extra bit, so that this way their names are going to be known, and their names are going to be huge on the independents, which is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm actually really looking forward to what the future will hold once all these names are still being gobbled up. So, anyway, let's continue. Let's see. It was noted how Triple H's territory system, he's setting up in the UK, has taken top stars from the UK indie scene. This could go on to hurt smaller companies, even if superstars own and operate these companies, as the case with Trent Seven and Pete Dunne, who both run promotions. Meltzer explained that McMahon failed in his first mission to be the only game in town, and new companies started popping up. Therefore, the only answer was to run more shows and sign more talent to essentially perform a second raid on the world's territory system. Quote, the key is to charge more money for ticket prices to indie shows. Why? Because before, if you had 1,000 people and your average ticket price was $5 or $6, it's pretty hard to build. Now when you can get the average ticket price to 20, you can run a business, you can do successful shows. So now, because of that, companies have come, and I think that they don't want viable, successful companies out there. Now, in reference to those smaller indies, okay, I don't understand the $5-6 thing. Most independent shows I see, at least lately, have been doing maybe $10 for a general admission, $15 for front row, or $15 GA and $20 front row. People have been charging more in the United States because they know what's going on. They know the money that is able to be made out there on the independents right now. Because right now people want to see variety. Wrestling is in its next boom right now. People want more. They want to see more. And for the hardcore fans, they want to see different. They want to see new. So, yeah, fans are and will be willing to pay the $20 price tag for a front row ticket to see, a independent show, because like I always say, you never know who is going to be the next big star. And a lot of these wrestling fans like to have that pride in, oh, I saw this guy or girl before they were any big. Which there's nothing wrong with that. So, wait, hold on one second. Well, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for other comments. Anyway, so, but I mentioned this before in the past, is there's what is it? There was an interview that I did a couple of years ago, actually about 3-4 years ago now at this point, actually about 4 or 5 maybe now, and I'm not going to name drop his name because I don't feel that it's right. He is currently a WWE producer right now, and back then, if I can find the interview, I'll put it up on the new YouTube for Open Mic Wrestling Night. I had talked to him about, because back in the day when NXT was kind of being rebranded, when Triple H was taking over, and he's a student of the game, and he's old school in the way he thinks, and He had a lot of the guys there, like a Dusty Rhodes and a Terry Taylor, and so many more that were helping him. So back in that day, I remember reading an article not too long before that where it was Triple H. I don't know how it works now, because especially with all the super indies that he's been signing and how many homegrown talents are actually going into NXT and making something of themselves. He was listing things as like tiers A, B, and C, or he was going to A, B, and C, and there would be ways to move up and this, that was the whole plan. And I remember back then, 4 or 5 years ago, I remember saying to this guy, I said, hey, is it with the way that Triple H thinks and the way he's a student of the game and the way that he, looks to the old school for, I guess, inspiration for many of things that he's done in his career and in the like, is it at all possible that it looks like that we're about to see the resurgence of the territory era again based on NXT's blueprint here? And I'll never forget this, because literally these words were the ones that had kept me going, podcasting, refereeing, or writing my editorials, because he had said that was a very intelligent analysis. Now you're listening to this, or and you're thinking, well, that's not that big of a deal. He might be fluffing. Yeah, this guy's been in the business for over 20 years, as a wrestler, as a writer, as a producer, as everything, especially on the independents, and now he's one of the go-to guys in the WWE as far as being a producer is concerned. At least that's the impression that I get. He telling me that was awesome. And seeing this years later is exactly what I had asked about. And we are seeing it right now. NXT is the brand new, well, I don't want to say brand new. NXT is WWE's version of the NWA, where you're going to have all these different territories. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you had and I would still like to see a World Cup with NXT, with their different territories. Say they have 4, UK, United States, Mexico, and Japan. Do like a World Cup series at like a takeover or something, which would be awesome. I think that would be great. But at the same time, you look at what they're doing now, and it's not out of the ordinary to think that they're doing the territories right now, because they are. And it's only going to get better from here. And actually, could you imagine if on the World Cup thing, thought, I could see that being something like a Survivor Series thing. Representatives from 4 territories going into the War Games match once, because then they'll do the UK champion versus the regular NXT champion, North American champion versus a random challenger from the UK, women's champions going against one another, tag team champions going against one another. But as much as I believe, and I do believe this, that they don't want big time companies to succeed like a WCW from back in the day. I do believe that, actually, but I really honestly don't believe that they're that selfish where they would think that it's not going to benefit them in the long run. Having successful companies like an All Elite Wrestling, or if Impact gets bigger, now Ring of Honor signing bigger talent too, and they're getting much more attention. And it's only going to get bigger once the Madison Square Garden Supercard goes on. It's giving WWE talent recruiters, or scouts, a chance to see different talents out there, a chance to see, so while they wouldn't want to see bigger companies succeeding, it's like with TNA back in the day. AJ Styles built equity in his name through TNA, and likewise Samoa Joe and Ring of Honor, and somewhat in TNA, and other talents who have built their equity, the equity in their name in other companies, like the bigger companies. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if, obviously it's